We are live with the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Microsoft Speakers Weekly Community Call. Today is May 14th. I am your host, filling in for Vesa, who is at ECS with many of our friends. We're excited to hear about their travels and all of the exciting information that they're going to bring back. But for today, you got me, so let's talk about our agenda. We're going to get the latest updates and news on Microsoft 365 and Power Platform. We're going to get the latest news across the Microsoft blogs. We're going to have group picture time with Together Mode. Hopefully that'll work. So get those fantastic faces ready. And then we're going to have two excellent presentations. Sam was actually scheduled to present today, but he had a house guest arrive that's going to be staying for, I don't know, about 18 years at least, right? So he had a new baby. We wish him the congratulations. It came a little early. So we will get him rescheduled, and a huge congratulations to the Best family. Hope all the best for you, and get that sleep while you can. And then Simran is going to cover M365 Search Connector and Power Platform. And some guy, I don't know, this guy, David Warner, I don't know who he is, Power Platform and M365 animation tips and tricks. So we're going to have a little bit of a shorter call today due to all that reshuffling, but it'll be fantastic for what we have left. Now, let's talk about our resources. So we have videos. In fact, you'll notice there's a little bit of a different name up there. We'll talk about that in a minute. But we've got a video YouTube account that is for everyone to be able to access all the wonderful videos that we create in the community. The demos on this call show up there. We've got other contributors to it across Microsoft, as well as the community. Things like the PNP Weekly get put up there. So we're excited. Definitely go subscribe to that, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. We've got our LinkedIn group for discussions and updates, so you can get to that at ak.ms/community/li. Again, that is a couple of pages. It's a group as well as a page. So there's lots of ways for you to be able to get that information in and out of the community through LinkedIn. So definitely take advantage of that. We've got our open source projects and programs, things like CLI for Microsoft 365, PNP.js, a number of programs and products that are projects that are available for you for free. And then our sample galleries. Now, again, these sample galleries, and we kind of rehash this every week, but we always have new ones on the call. The sample galleries are contributed to by the community, by members of Microsoft, but largely it is a community-owned resource and initiative. So they span a wide spectrum of technologies, so things like team samples, SPFX samples, list formatting, Power Platform, web parts, extensions, etc. Those are all available. We've got Power Platform prompts. We've got ACE adaptive card extension ones. And again, these are all built by members of Microsoft and the community, and they're 100% free. So definitely take advantage of those. But if you're thinking, man, do I have to remember all of these URLs? You do. And you'll win a prize if you do, but you don't have to. So you could also just remember ak.ms/community/home. And you'll notice that that has a little bit of a different look if you've been to our website before. That is a brand new design that we are going to be kind of matriculating across all of our different other projects, such as Sharing is Caring and the Recognition Program. But we're starting with our landing page. A huge shout out to Stefan Bauer and Hugo Bernier. They built it together with the assistance of the rest of the team, testing and continuing to refine it. So we're all leaning in to help out. But we're very excited. It's a fresh new look. It really kind of puts the arms around all of our products and platforms. Color schemes that are across both M365 and Power Platform and Dynamics, because we are one Microsoft community. So definitely go check that out. Really, really cool. And as we are making other changes, again, that name of our Microsoft community channel on YouTube has been updated. So it is the new Microsoft Community Learning channel. And this has really been put into place, as you can see on the left of those screenshots. Originally it was Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Community, and it's gone through some iterations, but we're continuing to iterate to be inclusive. So as you could imagine, there is more than Microsoft 365 and Power Platform to our product stack. So things like Dynamics 365 are out there. So we're looking to be a little bit more inclusive and all up with our channel. Going to be including all those technologies. And again, this is still a community channel, everybody. So you're going to see community projects and community videos. Again, like you see the demos on these calls will be up there. Other videos from other areas of our community will be up there. So it is not being consumed by Microsoft. It is absolutely still a community channel, and that's why we kind of wanted to rename it here, Microsoft Community Learning Channel. So it's a great opportunity. Thank you for putting that link in the chat. Trying to do things with 11 arms here at the same time, so appreciate that. So you can check that link out, but you can always go to ak.ms/community/YouTube. Now, if you are a fan of community calls, because you're here, which I hope you are, then of course you know that you're on this call, which is the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform weekly call with Microsoft speakers. We've also got our Power Platform monthly call, which is, by the way, tomorrow. So get signed up for that. If you're not already, we'll see there. We got 3 first-time presenters on a broad spectrum of topics, so we're excited for that. We've got our office add-ins, and then we've got our sibling Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community biweekly call and the Viva Connections and SharePoint Framework biweekly call. That SharePoint Framework call is this week, going to be hosted by Hugo Bernier with another trio of fantastic presenters. You can access all of the calls at aka.ms/community/calls, and you can also go to our meetup. We post everything on the meetup site, and that actually shows all of the agenda. So if you're ever wondering, well, I got to check all the social spheres and find out who's speaking and who's not, and then what we're going to talk about, because it's exciting stuff. If you go sign up for the meetup, you'll be alerted because we do update that meetup each week, and it's going to include all of the topics that are coming up. So it's kind of a nice way, again, to be subscribed, if you will, to the upcoming agendas and everything. Now, you may also be wondering, how do I get on these calls to present some stuff? Because I got some cool things to show off, and we know you do. So we want you to present, and it is open to everyone in the community. You're all welcome. Everyone is welcome, and we want to make sure that you understand that it doesn't have to be anything like the first time sliced bread was invented, right? Nothing like that. If you've got a cool script or a cool sample, or you figured out how to accomplish a task, or even if someone's already presented on it, but you've got a different spin on it, that's okay. Don't think if someone's already talked about something, well, that's the end. We'll never talk about it again. No, we want you to be empowered, and we want to make sure you feel comfortable. So if you've never presented and you want a buddy, we can do that too. We absolutely will buddy you up with a experienced presenter within the community, someone from the MVP community or our team, and we'll work on the presentation together, and then we can present together. So it's a great way to feel empowered. Don't feel overwhelmed or feel like you have to, show off some amazing thing, because I guarantee what you will show off will be amazing. Someone will benefit. And we always talk about how, oh, well, I can't show off level 100 stuff. But guess what? They always have new ones in the community that are looking to learn the basics. And so those basics are welcome. Everybody can benefit by them. And, I don't know about you, as I get older, I forget. So I need to be reminded, right? So it's really fantastic stuff. Don't hesitate to take advantage. All right, we've also got some assets for the Microsoft Cloud. We've got our dev program, our learning modules, so definitely lean in there. You can learn more about those at these URLs. They are available to you, again, more free resources. And then, of course, we used to have our dev tenant that you could get for free, but as Vesa has been sharing, it's kind of changed because there's been some villains, if you will, taking advantage of that. So they're retooling that, but you can still get a subscription for M365 for, I think it's $6 a month. It may have just changed recently, so we'll get this updated. But it's not much, right? And the beautiful thing about getting that and kind of paying for it is when it's free, they can make changes like they have, and you're kind of, at their whim. But when you are paying, you've got a little bit more power, right? You may not get all those extra users and stuff like that, but you absolutely still have full control of your tenant, which is a great way to ensure that you have full control since you're paying for it. And you have are able to add on all the suitable features that you need and stuff like that. So it's a kind of a low cost. We understand that it is a frustration. It is more than zero, which is what the dev tenants were. But we're kind of working through this, and we appreciate everybody's understanding and collaboration on it. We also have some wonderful shows that are available to those in the community. So we've got our PNP Weekly with Vesa and Waldick. We've got our Mondays at Microsoft with Heather and Caruana, who I think just are celebrating their 25th episode, and happy 1-year anniversary to them. That's a wonderful consistency to see. And then we've got our M365 Developer Podcast resuming after Build, which is just next week. So Build is next week, so we're excited for that. So definitely check out some of those links. A great way to get to know the community, and I know there's a couple more that we're going to be coming up and refreshing here soon, so be on the lookout for those. All right, talking about those samples. So again, you can get to all these samples. They are available at the variety of resources and repos, but we have gone through great lengths to make sure that they're consolidated into one location. And you can get that from the global sample browser by going to aka.ms/community/samples. And that will give you access. You can actually filter down on products. You can do search results based on an author or keywords. So it's a great way to find those. And we really appreciate, again, everything that everyone is doing. They're getting up close here to, I think, close to 2,000 now. I think it's a little more than 1950. So we're excited, and we really want to say thank you to everyone for leaning in, because those are community samples by those in Microsoft and the community. So we really appreciate that. Now, if you're looking at those samples and you're like, I got cool stuff to share too, there too, we want you to. So that's where our Sharing is Caring session comes in. This is a program led by myself and Hugo Bernier, and there's going to be others that are going to be leaning in soon. So we appreciate those who have reached out and said they'd like to help. We're looking to scale this. I know it's been on hiatus for a while, but now we're bringing it back. What the program is it provides hands-on guidance. And what does that mean? It means that we are going to set up live Teams calls. We're going to work together on something like contributing a pull request to GitHub. And you may not even know what a pull request is. It means that you're going to be able to contribute code to those sample browsers and other open source initiatives. But you might not know that landscape. It might be a little frustrating. They got words like blame and raw and fork and what in the world is all that doing? I'm not even hungry, right? What do I need a fork for? But we're going to walk you through it. You're going to understand what forking is and what a pull request is and all that kind of stuff. And it's not recorded. So it's an absolute safe space, which means that you can ask any and all questions. I know when I'm learning, sometimes I'm a little afraid to ask those questions because I think, well, should I already know this? No problem. We're going to answer all those questions together. You don't have to worry about it going on record or anything like that. It's a safe space. It's a collaborative environment. Lots of people. Our next one is on Monday. So go to ak.ms/sharing is caring, get signed up for that session. And again, it's absolutely 100% free. So we are looking forward to getting that kicked back off and look forward to see everybody on Monday. All right. Now, once you have contributed, what do you get for it? Well, we have our recognition program in place, and this is one of those programs that we have loved and is continuing to grow, and we're seeing a lot of positivity in the community. We've got over 1,000 opted in now for this program, which is fantastic. It is a recognition program that provides official accredited recognition to the contributions that you're making. It's powered by Credly. We cover that cost. It's covered by donations, if you will, from those in the community that do work at workshops, and we pay for that. So we're no cost to you, absolutely free. We're excited. We're continuing to upgrade, or I guess say update new initiatives and new programs. So we're coming out with things like our multiverse contributor, right? So if you contribute across more than a couple of repos, you can start getting recognized for that instead of just, hey, all I really do is CLI, or I love SPFX web parts. But it's an opportunity to get recognized for those that are maybe broadening the spectrum and kind of contributing across multiple repos. So it's a good way to get recognized there. Again, it is powered by Credly, so those badges are official and accredited, which means that you can associate them to your LinkedIn profile. You can put them on your resume, on your blog, on your slides that you do during your presentation. So again, they are real. They show that you're making a real effort. And again, if you work for a company or you work for yourself, they're both advantageous because they show your clients or your manager that you're going that extra mile. And again, if you're not sure how to contribute, that's where that sharing is caring session comes in. So we do need you to opt in though, ak.ms/community/recognition. It is absolutely free. You log in, opt in once, and we'll track your GitHub. If you change your GitHub, then we can work through that together. You could put it in again, and we'll take care of that. All right, so love to get everybody in there. Again, 100% free. Take advantage of it because it's absolutely a wonderful way to show that you are making contributions. And I see a quick question in the chat: how long until badges are issued after a contribution is made? So that depends a little bit on a number of things, but usually the pull request has to be completed, and then we're starting to schedule regular scripts that run to track all that. So just bear in mind, it could take anywhere between a week to a few weeks, depending on the initiative, but we try to make sure everything gets out on a consistent basis. All right, so we got some events coming up. One is happening right now, obviously, the European Collaboration Summit. Many of our friends, as well as Vesa, are out there speaking, so we wish them a happy and exciting week ahead. Hopefully they will continue to have wonderful news that they bring back, and we'll hear all about it, see those pictures, and there won't be any FOMO at all, right? I'm not already having FOMO. No, just kidding. They're going to have a wonderful time, and we appreciate them. We also have the TechCon series coming up here soon. So Seattle is right around the corner in June. We've got DC coming up in August and Dallas in November. Of course, we've also got our Power Platform Conference coming up in September, kind of mid to the end of September. So that's in Las Vegas. A lot of exciting opportunities there. We know that that's done in the big room. So very exciting for that keynote. Lots of cool opportunities to collaborate and a number of other initiatives and events that are coming up across the globe. You can get yours added at communitydays.org. Right, so we've got that open for the community, a number of wonderful events going on by the community. So we welcome and appreciate all that you're doing there. And of course, our Global Copilot Summit, which is running a number of days. So we're coming up near the end of that here soon, but you can still learn more about that. And then we've got our European Power Platform Conference coming up as well. So we've got our news here from Vesa across the Microsoft spectrum. So we're obviously not going to go through all of these, but you can get access to these by going to those links to be able to learn more about all the different blogs and all that's available there. So I'll put those links there in the chat, and we'll be able to cover all that news again at another time. All right, well, it is picture time. So let's see if Together Mode is playing favorable today. So I am going to try to throw it in. Let's do the one with the maximum amount of seats. Turn those cameras on. And oh boy. Together Mode is applied for everyone, but not visible teams. Let's see if large gallery works. Oh, we're back. No, it's working. Okay, all right. Let me move that into, there we go. Oh, look at that. It is working. Yay. And there was much rejoicing. Okay, very good. I'm working on multiple things here. There we go. Camtasia up, move that off to the side. All right, everybody, we're a little pixelated, but we can tell. So let me kick that off. 3, 2, 1. No! All right, let's wave to the community. Woo! Excellent. You look awesome. Love it, love it, love it. All right, fantastic. Okay. All right, so let me get that moved off here, and then we will move on. So we're going to kick it off with Simran on M365 Search Connector in Power Platform. Simran, you on?
Yes, I'm here.
Excellent. Feel free to take on over the screen.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you so much, David. I loved your energy. I really hope I can match that. But welcome, everyone. So excited to be here. I'm going to be talking about the M365 Search Connector in Power Platform. I will share a quick deck, so let me know if you guys are able to see my screen. Just give me 2 seconds.
Yep, it is loaded.
All right, perfect. I don't think it is updated.
Actually, could you just share your screen? I noticed you did PowerPoint Live, but sometimes there's an issue with the recording on PowerPoint Live. Perfect, thanks.
Right. Let me just put it in presentation mode. Okay, is that visible to everyone?
Yep. And then just like you said, just throw it in presentation mode and we're on our way.
Amazing. All right.
Perfect.
Welcome, everyone. So my name is Simran Ajwani, and I am on the Microsoft Search Programmability and Copilot Extensibility team. Pretty long name, but I'll kind of explain, what that is. So when we take a look at Microsoft Search, 1 second. Okay. So when we take a look at our Microsoft Search solutions, we can see all the way from our pro code side to our low code side. So on our pro code side, we have our Microsoft Graph, which is a way to bring APIs and any external content to 1P and 3P. So we can see where you can extend your M365 experiences, you can build your own experiences all using Microsoft Graph. You can also bring in any external data using connectors. And so this is more of our pro code side of what our team works on. And this is all these solutions catered to you guys to search through your data. But we also have a low code side as well. And this is where the Microsoft Search Connector comes in. So the Microsoft Search Connector is a way to search through all of your M365 data sets. So we have files, we have messages, people, any external content through Graph connectors as well. And so this surfaces through Power Apps and Power Automate. So where you'll be able to see these connectors are through Power Apps, which are just ways to low code, no code ways to create enterprise applications, as well as Power Automate, which is a way to create your workflows. And so we have a link down here called aka.ms/search in Power, which takes you to our Microsoft Search documentation. Currently, the Search Connector is in preview, but I'm going to be showing you guys a live demo of how it works, some of our plans for the future as well. And yeah, any questions that you guys have while I'm taking you through the demo, please drop them in the chat. And so this is a little bit more about the search connector. So as I mentioned before, there's 4 different entities that we support right now. And all of these entities come from M365 data. So files will come from your SharePoint and OneDrive. Messages comes from your Teams. And so each different entity type has its own like content sources. And we're also going to kind of see that when I take you through the demo as well. So if you think this is pretty interesting, there is a QR code. So please, if you want to learn more, get in contact with me, and you can fill out this form, pretty quick form. It should take a minute or two, and we can kind of understand more about your use cases. I will also showcase this QR code at the end of the call as well, in case anyone has missed it. Okay, so now I'm gonna share another screen, take you to the live demo. Give me a minute for that. Okay, and then let me know if you're able to see that.
Yep, loaded. Looks great.
Okay, perfect. So this is the documentation that I had mentioned before. This is public, and so you're able to just see what the search connector is. So it's available in all of these products and regions. We have our contact URL, email, and everything. And so the prerequisites to access this search connector, it just requires an M365 license, because you do need to access all of your workloads like Exchange, SharePoint, and Teams, as I mentioned before. And then in terms of credentials, all of the authentication has been built into the search connector. So you'll see when you go and save and test the connector and run it, it will already be authenticated, and make sure that it's really easy and able to use without any additional authentication steps. And yeah, so that's a little bit about the documentation. Currently, as I did mention, it is in preview, so that means that you can look at this public documentation as well in terms of what the preview features are and then how to enable them. I will share these links in the chat as well. So let's get started on what the search connector looks like right now. So if we are able to search through, I'm going to be taking you through a couple different tabs, just because we are still in the development phase, and we are pushing our new like preview version out. So like not everything is updated right now. So there's a few like test environments and everything. So I'll try to make this as smooth as possible. So our new name for our connector, previously it was Microsoft Search, and now it is M365 Search. So this is our new preview version. So kind of think of it as like V2. And this is our new icon and how it looks. So whenever you go inside Power Automate, just search for the connector. This is what you'll see. And this is how it looks right now. So there are 4 different actions that you can search through. There's search files. For each entity, we have 1 different action. And so in this case, what I'm showing you guys is searching for your files. You can totally ignore this var token. It is for testing purposes only. And so we have our search input. So these are the different information that users will have to enter. So when you are running your flow or using this connector, there's a few different information that you have to enter. So one of them is your search phrase you can think of. In this case, I put the word plan because, for example, I want to search through files from the search phrase plan. So anything that pops up with the search phrase plan is what I'm interested in. Number of results is how many results you want to show up. And start from result number is just the index starting number of the result. So if you want to start from the 10th result, go to the 20th, that's totally fine. And it's just more useful for pagination and things like that. And we have our relevance. So if you want to sort by relevance, most of the time it's default on. And so for files, as I mentioned before, we have our different content sources. So for files, it can come from SharePoint or OneDrive Business. And it's really up to you to decide if you want all the content sources that are available, if you only want your files to come from SharePoint, for example. So you're able to go and like edit them and delete them and kind of pick and choose, customize to whatever solutions you want. So scrolling a little bit down, we have these output fields. So these are fields for each entity type that we have available. So when you think of a search running and then you see the results come back, what different fields do you want showing up for that one file? So what details do you want coming out of it? So if you want your description for the file to show up, your file name, and stuff like that. So for each different entity, we have around 25 to 30 different fields. And you can also create any custom fields as well. So as you can see below, there's 5 that show up, but there are a lot of different fields we have access to. And so whatever you want to show up, I'm just going to keep these 5 that we have. So our file name, path, rank, and things like that. And then, so filtering is something that's in development. So I will show you in one of our test connectors how that would look. So this is how it looks. So this is our filters field. So for a few different of the output fields that we have, we're able to filter our files. So say instead of you don't want to search through all the files you have access to in every single SharePoint site or every single SharePoint file. If you want to scope it down to a specific path, if you want to scope your files down to like a file name containing the specific phrase, you're able to do that. So this is a new capability that we have added from our version 1, which is filtering. And so in this case right now, the example I have chosen is I want all of my files to come from this SharePoint URL. So how you would do that is just choose your output field. You have different operators. For example, if you do have like a quantitative field, then you're able to put on any of these like quantitative operators. So if you want, for example, your date last received of a Teams message to be less than this specific date or greater than this date, then you're able to put those in the operators as well. You can kind of play around with that as well. But yeah, let me just make sure that I have the most updated token. My token does tend to expire. I don't even know how often it expires, but I just want to make sure when I run this that the authentication is not the issue. So give me probably 10 seconds to get the new token. All right. So I will run both of these just to show you how the first one they both will return results, but the second one will return results with filtering. So let's just test these out. Hopefully both of them run at the same time. I've only done one at a time, but it should work. So this is where the authentication happens. The built-in authentication that already happens is when the user first clicks run the flow. And then in this case, we've just manually triggered the flow, but you're able to also look at ways where you have like a Power App. And for example, if you have like a display table inside your Power App and you have like a search box and then a search button, when you click that button, you're able, for example, that can trigger like the run of this flow. So that's just one example how a user can use it inside a Power App as well. So we can see our search files has returned the default of 10 results. We've had it both from SharePoint and OneDrive, and this is our output. So we have our 5 different fields, output fields that we wanted displayed. We can see since we wanted to search with the search phrase plan, we'll see that show up here. So how this works for access purposes is whoever is running the flow, that's all the data that will show up to them. So I have access to all of these files, so this is how all of these files will show up to me. So it's basically the same privacy security principles that we have in Microsoft Search. It's all built in as well. So it's up to the end user who is running the flow. And then in terms of the filtering, if we wanted to see how all of the files are scoped, so in this case, I only had a size of 1, so we can see our path is scoped to this specific SharePoint site. So that's a little bit about the results. You're able to output this in any other way as well. So you're able to output this, as I mentioned before, like in a display table and things like that. And so we do have a newer documentation that we will be releasing soon. So it kind of talks about very similar things. So we have our 4 different action types. So I just showed you how search files looks, but we have other ones. We can also search through like graph connector content as well. These are all the inputs that are required, and these are the, for example, different outputs that we have access to. So if you're able to go into like Power Automate and you're able to go see all of the output fields that are available, the 20 to 30 ones that we have. These are some use cases. So after talking with a few customers, there's some use cases that I have documented here just to spark some ideas as well too. And then we have a little bit of a common frequently answered questions. So what is relevance? How does security privacy work? What are some examples of using external data? And then if you want to be more specific, instead of just filtering, can you like do exclude functions or things like that? You're able to use KQL in the search phrase box that I had shown over here and kind of customize it. If you are more on the pro code side, I guess you're able to customize it in that sense as well. So that's a little bit about the search connector. I will bring up that QR code one more time, and I'll also put my email in the chat in case any of you guys are interested. Thank you so much for listening, and I really appreciate all that. And I'll definitely get over to the if there are any questions in the chat, but let me just share that QR code really quick.
Very, very cool. Yeah, we'll give it a second for that QR code to come up. Lots of interest, lots of questions in the chat. So we'll definitely have you take a look at those.
Sounds good.
There we go.
All right, this is the QR code. Let me just zoom in.
Yeah. Yep, perfect.
I'll keep that
and
up.
that links to the same URL, the ak.ms for the.
So this is the documentation actually. So this
okay, yeah.
QR code is different.
Okay, so yeah, if
I
you're
can
watching,
try pulling out the link for that too. I'll just give it maybe 20 seconds.
Yeah, no problem. We got time. Yeah, lots of interest and really great stuff. And it's great to see such a cross-platform collaborative opportunity here, right? So a lot of this M365 stuff, but obviously spanning over to Power Platform. And that's reality, right? While the community knows that they're constantly using all these technologies together, we're showcasing here how that can be done and making it possible. So really great stuff.
Yeah, sounds good. All right. Thank you so much, everyone.
All right. Yeah, the crowd is going wild. Awesome. Okay, let's move on. Let me get this up and let me get this moved over. Okay, so we're going to move on now to that last guy. I don't know, he's a crazy goofball, but we're going to talk about Power Platform and Microsoft 365 animation tips and techniques. We're going to talk about an extension that I've been working on trying to make little, things that can take a while and require a bunch of repetitive effort a little easier inside of a VS Code extension. Today, we're going to talk about dynamic variables. So my name again is David Warner. I work for Microsoft and I am hosting the call, and you probably already know me, but if not, hey, check out my blog. I try to help out the community as well. So just looking at our agenda, again, I kind of share this one each time. The best investments is the tools of one's own trade, right? So we've got lots of resources available to us. So we're going to talk about dynamic SVG animations in Power Apps. Some of you may be familiar, some of you may not. So we're going to cover some of the baseline fundamental information there. Then we're going to get into inserting variables using that Powerful Animations VS Code extension. So I'll showcase that. And then we'll talk about kind of what's next. What are we growing from there? Where's the roadmap taking us and all that? So where we're going to work today is within VS Code. So if you're not familiar with VS Code, it is a free development tool. Don't let that scare you if you're just getting introduced or starting out at Power Platform. It's a free tool. It is wonderful. You can use it for SVGs, which we'll showcase today, but you can use it for JSON and all kinds of other things. You can get access to that at ak.ms/VSC. Download it, 100% free. You can even customize it. You'll see I've customized it to my typical orange and purple, which just kind of makes it a little more, happy, warm fuzzies when you're working within it. So we're going to talk about today a VS Code extension that I created for the community, absolutely free, ak.ms/VSC/powerful animations. Again, it's animation support. It's got very humble beginnings. I still have it in preview. We're going to be expanding it even more, so looking forward to all these additional cool things that are coming up and available to you. One of the first things that we showcased for those that maybe didn't see the first time is the ability to convert quotes, right? So when you're working with SVGs, it's going to have a certain quote setup in it, you need to convert that, right? So we want to search and replace double quotes with single quotes for pasting into Power Apps, because that's how you do it. And I'll show a demo of that. But that can be a little bit laborious sometimes if you're working within and repeating and making changes and having to do that over and over and over. So it can be a little bit problematic, and it just starts feeling like a repetition. So this particular function, which I'll showcase and show you again just as a refresher, does that automatically for you. It replaces that need to do it manually, and you can do it in one fell swoop. But what we're really going to focus on today is the conversion of properties that go from static to dynamic, because that is possible to do. So we're going to replace some of those hard-coded animation properties, things like length and repetition and colors. Those can absolutely be replaced, and they can be dynamic in Power Apps, which is really, really cool. But it can be, again, a little bit of a laborious task to have to work within something like VS Code or even CodePen, make your changes, copy it into Power Apps, make the changes there, go back to VS Code, undo it, or whatever the case may be. So we are going to be taking a look at that. All right, so let me kick it off. I'll bring up VS Code, and what we have here is just a little SVG. I can see that right up here. It's just a demo SVG. There's another utility that I'll include a link for at the end that allows you to preview SVGs. So when I bring that up right here, you can see it started doing its little rotation, just a little football. For those that are fans of football, the schedule kicks off tomorrow, so I know we're all excited. Thought this was kind of timing right. But there's a bunch of things that can be modified. So if we look over here at the CSS, we can see one of the things is a repetition, right? So I've got that set as 1. So when I loaded it, you notice that it kind of flipped once, right? Like it was, I don't know, maybe just getting ready to be kicked through the air or something like that if we didn't have the shadow. But I can change that. Now, this particular class is just for that background red color. So I'm not going to change everything. I'm going to change it here to show you the experience, right? So notice that background color continued to rotate more than once. The rest of our CSS is all still going a rotation of once, right? So that's what's going on there. And again, if you're not familiar with CSS, don't let it overwhelm you. There's lots of tools that we're going to talk about. There's lots of things that I'm starting to add in here that are going to give you the ability to make it easier and easier. But for now, we're just changing one property. So if I change it back to 1, you see the football just continues to rotate once. And if I change it to 2, then we see that background layer. I could go change all of my layers to 2 and we would continue to see it flip. You could change things like color and all that kind of stuff, right? So let's say now that I want to add this SVG into my Power App. Well, as we mentioned, we would have to come in and convert all these double quotes to single quotes, right? Because when we add it into Power Apps, we're adding it actually in between a function that kind of parses it and processes it for us. So one of the things I showcase, and we won't spend too much time on this, is that I can convert to single quotes, right? So I've got this Powerful Animations convert to single quotes option. And what that does is for everything that I've selected, it automatically processes and converts those double quotes to single quotes. So I'm going to go ahead and re-invoke that. Convert to single quotes. We see here on the bottom that it says beginning converting single quotes and text copy to clipboard. So it automatically adds it to the clipboard for us. So now when I go back over into Power Apps, let me set the context here. I've got a component that I've started creating, right? We see it right here. I've got a couple of pieces to that component with a screen on each for a dynamic variable. For now, though, we're just going to add it into our dynamic variable called Power Anim, and one is called Powerful Animations. And really, the only difference here is that one has a space and one doesn't, so we'll kind of talk about that in a moment. But I'm going to expand my image. I've preset an image there. I've got the data wrapper, right? So this is what that data wrapper looks like for encoding the URL. And again, it's got double quotes here, and that's why we need to put ours in single quotes. So if I paste that in, then we see, bam, great, right? Our football's there. We see it rotating, and we can do that. Now, what I've also done is inside of my component here, I've created a custom property. So for those that are maybe unfamiliar with this, this is the ability to create a custom property within your component. And what I've done is called it animation repetition. It's set up as a number, right? And so if I look at the details of that, we can see the display name is animation repetition. The actual name of it, which we'll use inside of our code, is animation repetition, and then a number of times to repeat animation and input a number. And so we're able to use that within our SVG. So that's pretty cool. So how does that work? Well, if I click back on the image here and I expand that back down, and we'll pull this back down and move to the top. If I wanted to change that property right there, that little one number, and I wanted that to be taken from that dynamic property, then what I do is I come in here and I say powerful or power anim, right? So we see that right there is my component. So I'm gonna come back and select that, hit dot, and we see I now can access my dynamic property. So I created that, right? So I'll just each time let's see. Power Apps does get kind of crazy like this. There we go. Sometimes you got to reset it. So I select that. And then I will do an ampersand and another closing quote. So what that does is you see it went away when I was processing all of that. But now what happens, what this does is it makes that dynamic, right? It makes it configurable. So now I can change that on the fly, right? So if I change this, close this, and then just click on the actual component here, and you'll notice that it's defaulted for me here to animation repetition. If I were to change this to 2, now we see that our back layer, again, we could assign that to as many layers as we want, is dynamic. So not 32, I can see it for 32. But if I change it here, then we see it rotates 3 times, right? So we've made this a dynamic variable, which is pretty cool in and of itself, right? And you could apply this. We could have ones here for whether we want it to, how long we want the animation to be, maybe if we want to change colors, something like that, right? So this is all pretty basic out-of-the-box stuff that we can absolutely do. But as you could imagine, as I click in here, so I've gone in and it took me, a few seconds. I could have snippets or something to go in and add this each time. And so if I want to make changes to my SVG, I'm probably not going to make it within here, right? I'm likely going to want to make it within VS Code because I've got this cool other extension that lets me preview it. So all my changes are actually real here, and that's great. So if you're wanting to edit your SVG, then you kind of have to repeat that each and every single time, which, I don't know, to me feels like it gets old and becomes kind of I don't know, boring or repetitive in a bad way, right? So we maybe have a better way. So what I did is I created a function in the VS Code extension that does that for us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight that number 1 right there, right? Because that's the one we want to change. And then I'm going to re-invoke my extension using Control-Shift-P, and I'm going to click Insert Variable Name. Right? And so what happens is when I do that, it asks me, well, hey, what's the parameter name for that you would like to use? So each time I zoom out, it redoes it, insert variable name. So I'm going to paste in poweranim.animation repetition. And I'm going to hit enter. And what happens is it adds in all of that information for me. So it automatically adds the double quote, the ampersand, adds the name of that, and of course the suffix, ampersand, and double quote. So now I'm going to select all of that. I'm going to hit Control-Shift-P again. I'm going to convert to single quotes because, again, we have to do that. And then I'm going to come back over to my Power App, and I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to go reinsert that. And you'll notice that it went away. When I come back up, there it is. That's great. So if I were to then close this, come back here and change this to 4, then we're going to see that thing continuing to rotate 4 times, right? There we go, it just continues to go. So it's not too bad, right? It's a simple function. Again, humble beginnings for this. But the intent is that now if I want to come back in and make changes, I just come back here, I Control Z, it takes out the dynamic variable property, and I can continue to make edits to my SVG, right? No problem. And then when I need to do it again, there is a little bit of process here in adding it back in, but it's a little easier because you're not having to go back into VS Code into Power Apps and manually paste it in or anything like that. It just gives you a little bit of functionality. And you'll notice that it does also work. So if I go back to here, my Power App, let me go here, and we go into the powerful animations. Again, that's a different name, right? So it's actually got a space in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab, just for the sake of time, I've got another snippet here. So I'm just going to take that. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to say insert variable name, and I'm going to paste, because you'll notice that in this case, when there's a space in it, right, it adds single quotes, and that's what is needed. So it'll automatically add single quotes there for you because there's a space in it, and so we want to use that. It will handle that, right? So we can add that in, hit enter, it adds that in, and now if I convert to single quotes, it copies it to my clipboard. I'm able to go back into my Power App and paste that in, and there you go. It's working for that as well. So it does handle, if I scroll up, those no problem. Because what we're doing is there's a little bit of smarts going on inside of the extension conversion. Because what we've done here is we've added double quotes that are necessary, right? So these double quotes are necessary to be retained when we do the convert to single quotes. We're not just all up saying, okay, anywhere you find a double quote, convert it to a single quote. Because in this case, it would break this. If I were to change this to a single quote and and then do a convert to single quotes, so I've already done that. Convert to single quotes, copy and paste that over, and I'll come down here. That's SVG. Well, it's not going to work. See, it sees an error already because it would have auto converted those single quotes, and what we need these to be is double quotes. So we're not just doing a simple, easy find and replace. It needs to actually work successfully, and so we're taking care of that inside of that conversion. So that's the other nice thing is sometimes it can get a little cumbersome trying to remember exactly where all that has to be done. So this functionality takes care of all that for you. Which is kind of slick. Now you may think, well, okay, you're absolutely right, but the problem is you're still doing this monotonous kind of thing, and that's true. So what I wanted to show off, but was erring on me, so I got to fix it and finish it, is the ability to do even more. We're publishing soon this feature. What's coming soon is the ability to we've got animation libraries, dynamic search and replace, but all in one fell swoop, right? So what I'm looking to do is add the variable, convert quotes, and reset to original state. So what does that mean? So it means that I'll create a combo function that does all of those things for you. So what I plan on doing is saying in here, if I needed to add that variable, right? Say it is the power anim.animation repetition, and I want to do this. What it'll do is I'll come in here and I'll say, I'll have one that says like convert or insert variable name and prepare SVG. So I'll select that, I'll paste this in, and what it'll do is it'll add that, and then in one fell swoop, it'll select the entire SVG. It will convert single quotes to double quotes, and then it will reset this to the original value and copy what's needing to be done into your clipboard, right? So the process is you'll come in here, it'll look like this on your screen. You will add the variable, right? It'll do this, and then in a matter of a split second, it'll add this variable, it'll select the entire SVG, it'll convert single quotes to double quotes, or convert double quotes to single quotes, and then it'll copy it to your clipboard, and it'll reset it to this. So you're back at your original state. Your clipboard is already filled with what you need it to be filled with. You go over to your Power App and you paste it in. And then when you need to make changes, you don't have to manually undo them in VS Code. It's already taken care of for you, right? So it's kind of this combo package that you'll get that does it all for you. So the intent is that the seamlessness while you're doing your modifications to your SVG is nice. You come in, if you're doing your testing, and that's what this is great for, just doing your quick testing. You add it in, you add your variable, you go over to Power Apps, you test it, it looks good, you come back, you're ready to start moving again. You don't have to undo any of the changes like we've seen here. Again, just all one fell swoop action for you, the combo package. So I'm going to be getting that published out soon. Be on the lookout for that. Really excited for that one. And of course, some other things that we're doing is, again, we're looking for a dynamic property search and replace. So for example, if you have multiple areas in which you would like to search and replace something, and you can go in and it'll do that for you. So we saw that right here, if I were to change this to 2, not 21, just 2, then that layer, but there's more layers, right? So if I were to come down here, just kind of manually change these, so that's kind of repetitive, right? So now we've got some of the football continuing, and we'd have to go all the way through. And we could use the find and replace, obviously built into VS Code, but we'll have the find and replace done for actually for the variables and everything is what I'm referring to. The other things that I'll be adding in, of course, is the dynamic properties, the combo package. I'm going to be adding in an animation library of icons. So we'll see that over on the left panel. Where that will end up occurring is right over here. So all these panels that are available over here, there'll be a powerful animations icon here that you'll be able to access, and it'll open up panels here that you can access stock animations with, that I'll be creating things like spinners and some of those kinds of things that'll be easy, and then you can use the functionality to add it into your Power App. And then common animation snippets, right? So it's hard to sometimes remember the exact syntax for things like rotate and repetition. When you go back and look at the actual transform, translate, some of this stuff you don't always remember the exact syntax here, and if you're not always creating it all the time, then it can be a little cumbersome, and you're like, I got to copy and paste, which is fine. But if you've got snippets, then even better, right? So look for those things to be added. And one question in the chat from Elliot, does this use CSS variables? Definitely on the roadmap. I don't necessarily know that it will work in Power Apps with that, right? We just kind of covered how the dynamic variables, CSS variables. What I would be looking to be doing actually is when we add some of this stuff is adding some JavaScript here that will take care of it inside of VS Code. So you'll still see when I do go in and add in the variable for Power Apps, you could leave it there because we'll set up JavaScript that will actually take care of it for you for rendering here in VS Code. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds. You'll be able to see if you were to add in, say, your Power Apps variable. So again, I go and I do that and I say insert variable name, add that. It does this. You'll notice that that background wasn't moving. It's because inside of VS Code, it has no access to what that is. It knows it's something, but inside of VS Code, it doesn't know what it is. So I could add JavaScript that will populate that with a value. So as you add in your variables, you can leave them there, right? We talked about resetting it and all that, which is great for just quick testing if you want to preserve the originality of your VS Code or your SVG. But in this case, we'd be looking to create some JavaScript that would allow you to just continue working, and you can see the edits and the actual rendering results here in VS Code. So it's kind of the best of both worlds, right? Okay, all right, so let's get back and let's wrap this call up. So again, thank you. These are all the links that are available. I'll put them in the chat as well. And let's take a look at next week. So Microsoft 365 and Weekly Power Platform call for next week. The demos are going to be Fabian, who's going to be covering advanced considerations for custom Microsoft Graph connectors. And Vesta will be back covering introduction to latest features and capabilities in Viva Connections. If you are on Discord, or hey, even if you're not, you should be, because it is one of the cooler new ways to collaborate. So we've got a Discord server set up for the community. It is absolutely free. It's a great way to be able to be involved in multiple areas of our projects all in one place. It's got like a one-stop shop. And of course, your kids will be jealous because you'll be talking about Discord and they'll be like, what? Mom and Dad know what Discord is. Holy cow, they're cool. So definitely get on there. It's absolutely free. We encourage everyone. It's a good time. A number of members of the community are there pretty much all the time kind of talking about stuff. And of course, if you are enjoying these calls, definitely give us some feedback, please. We appreciate it. It is valuable to let our management know that you value these calls so that we can continue to make investments in them and hopefully continue to grow them. I know we're looking at adding some additional calls here soon for some new technology, so we're excited about that. Keep on the lookout. Other than that, we want to thank you. The recording will be available in 24 hours on what? The Microsoft Community Learning YouTube channel, right? The new name, aka.ms/community/videos or aka.ms/community/YouTube is also available. If you subscribe, you will be alerted as soon as it's available, which is the best way, because if you see in Teams that it says it's done and you can download it, and then you'd go to and it says, right? Sorry, not available because you're not a Microsoft employee. So the best way to not end up in sadness and tears, go sign up and subscribe to the channel. You can also follow us on Twitter for updates at M365PNP, or we've got that LinkedIn group as well where we'll alert everyone. The next M365 and Power Platform MS Speakers call is next week, May 21st at 8 a.m. Pacific. course, all the calls are available at aka.ms/community/call. So thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Again, we got the Power Platform call tomorrow. We got the SPFX call on Thursday, as well as the ProDev office hours for Power Platform. So lots of upcoming opportunities to collaborate in the community. Thank you all for being amazing. Thank you, Simran, for showing us that demo today as well. We appreciate all that you guys are doing. Please keep it up. We would not be possible without you. Have a great rest of the day.